All right. Well, everyone, welcome and thanks for joining us today. This presentation will be recorded, so please make sure to mute yourself or turn your camera off if you don't want to be seen. At the end of this session, if there are any questions, you can, of course, unmute yourself at that time, or if you feel more comfortable, you can put your questions into the chat feature and we'll address those. This visa workshop is for students that will be going to the Rome Center for spring of 2026. And all of these slides, along with the video, will be made available to you later this week, and we'll also post it onto the Go Global Rome Center brochure page. And we'll send an email out with the links and instructions as to where to find it. So it's an excellent resource for you to go back on when you're in the midst of everything as far as the visa application. I'm going to take myself off of camera here and then we'll continue on with the presentation. So, it's always important to know who you're working with. And so we'd like to make sure that you're familiar with the staff here in our office in relation to the Rome Center. So my name is Alana Carroll, and I handle the post-acceptance side of things. So one of the biggest parts of that is the student visa process. So you will be working directly with me. Any questions or concerns that you have, or if you need a document of any sort, please reach out to me. You will see our information here that'll have our names, our title, and our email. Then, of course, we have Adam and Abby. They are our Rome Center Assistant Directors for Enrollment Management. Many of you probably have already met with either of them, either when you were interested in applying for the Rome Center or just general questions about the Rome Center. So again, their information is here for you. You can always email them if you have any follow-up questions. And then lastly is Marley Stein, our Director of Study Abroad. You probably won't interact much with her. In some rare occasions, you may get some communication or something else, but for the most part, you'll be working with myself, Abby, or Adam. So again, just to clarify, we are here to help you. So feel free to reach out to us with any questions you may have. And so we'd like to make sure that we have all this contact information in this presentation for you, again, as a resource so you can go back and check on that at a later point. So here's just kind of a general overview of what we're going to discuss today. The presentation itself should take no more than an hour, a little less than that. And then, as I mentioned, we'll do some questions. We are going to talk about passports. We're going to talk about the student visas themselves. We're going to talk about the visa appointments and the pre-nota system, which is the Italian government's scheduling system for the various consulates throughout the US. We're also going to walk you through on how to schedule an appointment if you are wanting to do that in-person appointment. We're going to discuss documents that are needed for the student visa process, and then what's your responsibility as a student in this process, and then lastly, flights. All of this ties in together. These are all the different components in relation to the student visa. So this is a great reminder with the presentation that you students must have a passport in order to obtain a visa. So if you do not currently have a passport that's valid at least 6 months beyond the end date of the program, please make sure to begin that renewal or registration process immediately. And so you will see throughout this presentation, we will have various links. So you can go to travelstate.gov to renew or to get a new one. But most of you, if you've gotten to this stage, you already have a passport. This would be more applicable if your passport's about to expire. So again, you want to make sure that that passport is valid at least 6 months after the program end date. So let's get into the actual student visa. Just to let you know, there are 9 Italian consulates and 1 embassy in the United States. The visa requirements and forms will vary by location. So we always tell students, please check your consulate website to the one that you are using. And we'll dive in a little deeper about that in a second, but each consulate can be unique. And so we want to make sure that you're aware of that and that you are looking at their website and their requirements. So the student visas themselves. Students without an Italian or an EU passport will need to acquire a student visa for spring of 2026. So if you are an EU citizen, as long as you have an unexpired passport, and again, it's valid 6 months past the end date of the program, you can study in Italy without a student visa. If you are, if you have that EU passport that's not expired. Um, Make sure to reach out, letting our office know that you plan to use an EU passport, and make sure to upload a copy of that EU passport to the Go Global portal. That way, you don't get inundated with communications about the student visa process if it's not applicable to you. We usually have about a handful of students that do either have dual citizenship or they have that EU passport. So again, we want to make sure that you're not getting all the communication and bothered by that if you currently do have that EU passport. If you hold citizenship in a non-EU country other than the US, again, please reach out to Rome at luc.edu or to myself so we can assist you further. There's some unique things that happen with that. So a slightly different process. So we want to make sure that we help you along in that process. Um, our office recommends that you do not apply for the visa outside of the US if possible. And the reason for that is it's extremely difficult. There's longer processing periods, and there's a whole host of other issues that always seem to pop up when you're using an embassy outside of the US. Um, if you need to apply outside of the US, again, as I said, please let us know immediately. And it's important that you contact that consulate or embassy ahead of time to make sure that you can process your application there. So, of course, with this whole process, it takes time. And so I always encourage students, let's start this early on. Don't leave this to the end because there are many different components related to the student visa. And so we want to make this as stress-free as possible. So again, just keep us in the loop and let us know and reach out to me. So determining which consulate you need to apply to, this is important. Some of you as students may have multiple options depending upon where you live or the region you go to school in. So we provide a list of the consulates in their jurisdiction. Our office strongly encourages all students to use the Chicago consulate. We are the most familiar with their requirements. It's pretty streamlined. It's easy to do. I know we have some visiting students that may want to use the jurisdiction for their home school, such as, some of our students that go to SCU want to use San Francisco. There are some challenges. And as I mentioned earlier, there are some unique features with each of the consulates. And so kind of troubleshooting those can be challenging. So again, you all, whether you're a visiting student or a Loyola student, you all are eligible to use that Chicago consulate. And we do strongly encourage you to do so. So, student visa appointments. You can schedule an in-person appointment with a consulate general of Italy. And as I mentioned, all the students are eligible to use that Consulate General of Italy in Chicago, which is amazing and great. But you can also do a mail-in option. Student visa applicants can submit their application via mail for the Chicago consulate. Now, there are some other consulates that do allow that. Again, you're going to have to explore if that is the situation you're looking for. Off the top of my head, I know that Houston does it, San Francisco, and Detroit. But again, there are some unique or niche requirements related to the mail-in. So you really have to do your due diligence in finding out and determining what those are and complying to those. And if you don't, that can cause some complications down the road for you. If the mail-in option is used, make sure that the forms are signed and dated in front of a notary public. Your signature must be witnessed. Now, that's specifically for Chicago. As I mentioned earlier, like San Francisco, again, one of those unique situations, they require that a signature be witnessed by one of their honorary consulates and not a general notary. So those are the type of things that I want you to be aware of when you are utilizing a consulate that's not Chicago. So just be privy to that. Make sure you're doing your due diligence and looking on the website. Also reaching out to me. I'm always accessible via Zoom. We can jump on a Zoom via Navigate or something else, and I can help walk you through those steps as well. But again, I'm going to encourage you to use the Chicago consulate. So the study visa appointment system, if you want to do that in-person appointment, which a lot of students prefer to do, it's a little safer in there. They feel safer in that sense because they're going to be in front of a visa officer. They're going to be handing over their passport, going through documents. You're going to use a system called Prenota, a website here. And again, as I mentioned, this is with the Italian government. This is their software system to schedule an appointment. In the following slides, I'll show you how to do that and what that system looks like, but you'll have to jump in and book an appointment using that system. Be aware that if you do not live in the Chicago area and you book an appointment with the Chicago consulate, that you will need to account for travel. Sometimes students get a little, anxious and they book it with Chicago, especially let's say in November, and then they realize, oh, I'm going to be traveling for Thanksgiving, things like that. Like, just be mindful of that and the calendar and where you're going to be and whether it's feasible for you to come for that in-person appointment. Otherwise, as I mentioned, there's always the mail-in option with Chicago, which is very convenient and nice. Um, and then if you are doing that in-person appointment, be aware that, basically you're having an interview with the consulate. They're going to go over your application and your required documents at that time. So be mindful of that. So scheduling your appointment, as I mentioned with that pre-notice system, you need to register or create an account on the Prenota website, and you need to access and start looking and book an in-person appointment. Um, you're fortunate enough that there is a window. It's a 180-day window for this, and that just opened up as of the 19th of July. So from this point forward, you are able to either schedule an appointment or collect all your documents and mail everything in to the appropriate consulate now. And so, as I mentioned, we want it no earlier than 180 days, but we're good to go now at this point, and no later than 30 days before the start of the program. So your program is going to be starting in January, and so you do not want to have that any later than that December 14th because your start date is January 15th. If you're having difficulty finding a time or an available appointment, just make sure to continue to check the website, the Prenota website. We tell students to check that at midnight Rome time, which is about 5 p.m. Central Time here. And this is when newly available appointments are reposted. Now, could they be reposted? Someone could cancel an appointment midday? Yes. So we do encourage you jump in on that 5 o'clock time to look, but you can look at other times throughout the day or later in the evening. As I mentioned, many students may drop an appointment for whatever reason. So you can certainly scoop up an appointment that way. And then just be aware that you can only have one Prenota account, reservation account with one consulate. You can change a consulate. Let's say you're lucky enough and you have the option of two different consulates, being Chicago because of your Loyola status, or perhaps you live in California and you have the San Francisco consulate as well. You can pivot between the two, but you just have to go into your Prenota account and change that to do so. But you can't have more. You can't have two at the same time. You can only have one Prenota account. So let's talk about that Prenota account. First, you want to register or create an account with the Prenota system. You will need to answer a series of questions and select the consulate with which you would like to use. And there's a drop down menu when you do that for the consulate. And then just scroll down. Also, be aware when you're in that pre-notice system, it defaults to Italian. So if you speak Italian or read Italian, that's great. If you don't, you want to, in the upper right-hand corner, select English. And so that will make your life so much more easier when you're going through these questions instead of, I had a student who kept Google translating everything. And I said, you know, you can select this button that says English. And they were amazed. They're like, oh, this is so much easier. So you want to make sure that you go onto their website, you register an account, you answer the questions, you designate which consulate you're going to be using. And then once you do that, they'll send a confirmation email to you, which will then give you access to your account. It's kind of their security thing. They'll send it to you and then you'll log in. Once you have received that email, and you've logged back in, you're going to see their main page here. And there's going to be lots of different tabs and options up here. You want to select book. Once you select the book, it's going to ask you what service you're looking for. And so from there, you're going to want to select Visa National and then select the button that says book. And then when you do get to that point, it will then move you along to booking information. You're going to always select individual booking and make sure that you mark off the box for privacy policy and select forward. Once you do that, it will take you to the calendar for that specific consulate. And so it will show you what's available and what's not available. And so you will see that a calendar will pull up. This does not translate to English, so this is a great time to start learning your months of the year in Italian. And then you will see down here, there's a key. It will tell you that the green is what's available, the red is not available, and if you select a day, it'll turn it to blue. So in this situation, I selected this date was the 26th. And so on the right-hand side, it will show you all the appointment times and the number of appointments that are available for that time slot. So, look at your calendar, find out, determine what's a good fit for you based off of schedules, classes, things like that, and select that button. So for me, I wanted to select on that day that 11 to 11:15 slot, and then you hit the book um, button. Once you do that, you will get a screen that will pop up and it will give you your appointment details. It's very, very important that you read what they've highlighted in red, right? They want to make sure this stands out to you. And the reason being is you have booked an appointment, but it is not confirmed. Many students forget this step and which says, 10 to 3 days prior to your departure, or prior to your appointment, you need to log back into Prenota and you need to confirm your appointment under My Appointments and you would hit confirm. But if you don't do that the 10 to 3 days prior to, the consulate will cancel your appointment. I have lots of students that neglect or forget this step and they show up to an appointment and it's been canceled. So put it on your phone, put it on your calendar. If you book it for that day, back up and put an alarm or something on your calendar 10 to 3 days prior to log back into Prenota. You may get a reminder from the consulate, but the burden's on you to go back into that Prenota software system and confirm your appointment. So when you do that, and you go back into Prenota, like I mentioned, the 10 to 3 days prior to your appointment, you're going to select the tab that says My Appointments. And then you're going to see your information here, your date, your time. And then this operation, as of right now, it'll say cancel operation. But within that window of the 10 to 3 days, it will say confirm reservation. And so you would click on that. And that's alerting the consulate that you're aware of and that you are planning on still coming for your appointment. If they don't get that, they will cancel it. So just that's a good thing I like to point out to all the students and make sure they're aware of it. So now that you're either planning on going in person and you've booked an appointment, which is great, or you're planning on doing the mail-in to the Chicago or to some of the other ones. Again, remember, not every consulate allows a mail-in. You have to get all of your documents together. And so, what are the documents that you need? So, the basic documents are the same for all the Italian consulates in the US. Some of those consulates may require additional documents or have varied um, things regarding those documents. So, again, the burden's on you as the student that if you're going to use a consulate that's not Chicago, that you're on their website looking at that. And if you need help with that, please reach out to me. I can assist you. And as I mentioned, you just want to make sure that you're always checking that website. Once you have all your various documents assembled, you're going to bring them with you to your in-person appointment. So as I always say to students, prepare them early or schedule an appointment with me. I'm here to help you. I'm here to look over the documents prior to your appointment or prior to you mailing them out. It's always really good to have a second set of eyes looking at that. And because there are so many different documents and things that you have to assemble, you tend to look over or forget something. And so I think it's really, really important to have another person do it. You can have a parent or a guardian do it. I don't always rely or say ask your friends because sometimes they miss the things. So I'm the source of truth and also the website. So make sure you're using us to help you. Um, Also, I like to tell students, be aware that the consulate is going to take your passport. If you're going in person or if you're doing a mail-in, your passport is part of this document collection. So you are unable to travel internationally during that time in which your student visa application is being processed. So students tend to forget that, especially with the holidays like Thanksgiving or an October break, or if they're doing something over Christmas. So if you do have some international plans over Christmas, I highly recommend that you get this process taken care of early. Once you start that school year, things get busy and students tend to neglect this and then it's a rush or they don't remember that they had a trip and they're panicking. So you have time now in the summer, and that's why we do these visa workshops. Start collecting the documents, start getting everything ready. Do the mail-in. Everybody thinks they have to do the in-person. In-person is nice, and I recommend that. But if you can't get it in person, then collect everything, mail it, and get it out the door so that you have that peace of mind that it's been received. It's being processed, and you're going to get that student visa much earlier than if you delay and you wait till October or something to do it. So, students' responsibility, I think this is key. We are here to guide you. We're here to provide assistance, but ultimately, the in-person appointment or the mail-in is the responsibility of you as a student for obtaining your student visa. So, I just like to always point that out to students. Let's talk about flights. That's the next thing because that is related to the student visa because most, if not all, of the consulates require that you print out your flight itinerary. They like to see when you're flying into their country and when you're leaving their country. So, as a Spring 26 student, you will need to purchase a round trip flight to Italy. We recommend that you do it as soon as possible. A lot of students tend to delay this process because they think they're going to get a deal. Not always the case. I think it's best to do it now. We also say, when you're booking those flights, make sure that you are setting it so that it's changeable or refundable because plans change. Life throws some crazy curves at you. So I encourage students to make sure that they do that. When you do purchase your flight, you are going to need to make sure that you upload that. Um, the flight details. There's a series of questions and also uploading your itinerary to your Go Global portal. This is needed. I need to see that in order for me to create those acceptance and insurance letters, which are part of that student visa process. So the sooner you do that, the sooner I can um, produce those letters and notify you. And typically, if you're a Loyola student and it's during the school year, I'll send you an email saying that they're ready for pickup at our office. If you're a visiting student, I will ship those out to you, to the shipping address that you provided. Um, all the students had to fill out the shipping address question in the Go Global, just in case, I do need to send something and it falls over a holiday or a long weekend and you're working on it at home and you want to get it done. So make sure to fill out that information for me as well. And then make sure that you're looking at the Rome Center academic calendar. This guides you with the arrival and departure date. So for spring of 26, your arrival, January 14th is your arrival on campus, and May 1st is your departure. So given those dates and verifying that on the academic calendar, students typically leave or depart the US the day before. So if your arrival, as I said, is on the 14th, students will depart from the US on the 13th and arrive in Italy on the 14th. Um, can you arrive earlier in Italy? Yes, but you cannot be on campus any earlier than the arrival date. So be mindful of that. Some students like to do a family vacation before or at the end of a program, and that's fine, but your accommodation and your expenses fall on you if it's prior to that arrival date. In addition to that, your student visa is strictly for the dates of the program. So if you do arrive earlier and you're going through customs, you are not a student at that time. So you would present yourself as a tourist. So those are all questions that I get a lot from students. And so I want to make sure that I'm clear on that. We are assisting you in obtaining a student visa, and that has a start and an end date, which is the program dates. Let's move on to the document checklist. Now, please keep in mind that the student visa document checklist that I'm about to talk to you here is based off of the Chicago consulate. Again, if you are using a different consulate, you need to be on their website looking at it. So everything that I'm discussing at this point is based off of Chicago. So you are going to be doing the visa application itself. You're going to print and fill out that visa application form for long-term stay, which is 91 to 365 days. I have a template that is on our Rome Center brochure page in the Go Global. And so I essentially give you all the answers as to how to fill this out. Because once you do click on that actual visa application form, you're going to see, wow, there's a lot of questions. How do I answer that? We provide that for you. And at the end of this session, I'll bring that up on my screen so you can see that. So make sure that you're utilizing that template to answer those questions. In addition to that, you are going to need to supply a passport size photo attached to the visa application. You can obtain that at like a CVS, a Walgreens, or even Campus Card here on the Lakeshore campus. I think for $10, they'll take your picture and issue two of those passport size photos. Those get attached to the upper right-hand corner of the visa application. They do not accept if you take a picture of your passport and you do that, it has to be those regulated sizes. So make sure that you do that. In addition to that, you need to provide them a valid passport plus one copy of your passport. And so if you're on campus, you can come to our office, which is Sullivan Center, Suite 206, and we will gladly make any copies that you need for free. Just come to the front desk, say you're a Rome student going in the spring, could you make a copy of my passport or driver's license, things like that, and we'll happily do that for you. And that brings me to the next one, which is the driver's license or state ID. That determines eligibility for that particular consulate. Now, some students get a little nervous. They're a Loyola student, but again, they're from the East Coast or the West Coast. That's okay. Make a copy of that driver's license. And then in addition to that, I always say make a copy of your Loyola ID. So that's showing them that you have jurisdiction to Chicago. The letterhead that we produce the acceptance letters on should be sufficient enough in showing that jurisdiction, but I always am kind of a belt and suspenders approach kind of gal. So I always say, let's do the driver's license and and the Loyola ID. And again, you can come to our office, they'll take a picture, scan it, take a copy of it for you, print it out, front and back of each of those documents for you. And then, in addition to that, you are going to produce a study abroad insurance and acceptance letter. And again, as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, that is organized through Loyola. That is after you have answered and uploaded your flight itinerary information. So that's why it's so important that you do that sooner versus later. Don't wait for that Expedia, discount flight that you think you're gonna, get the golden ticket and it's October, November. Start looking now, start doing your research. If you find out what you think is a good deal, go for it and make sure that you answer and upload that so that I can organize, print out those acceptance and insurance letters and get that to you. Because that, again, that's all part of this document checklist. In addition to that, again, this is all based off of Chicago. You will need to do proof of financial means. These are typically three most recent bank statements or a letter from a U.S. bank institution indicating your account balance. So for Chicago, it's $1,000 per month of stay in Italy is required. And so this is giving them proof that you are going to have access to funds while you're there studying abroad. And so for that semester long student, that's going to be 4,500. Now, again, as I've said throughout this whole presentation, it can vary depending upon the consulate that you use. Some may require more, some may require less. Again, I encourage you to continue or to use the Chicago consulate. That's the most familiar and the most streamlined process. And so just kind of pointing that out to you. If you are receiving any financial aid and you're relying on that financial aid for part or all of your proof of financial means, make sure that you reach out to LUFinaid at luc.edu and request a financial award letter. So some students may only have, let's say, $2,000 in their bank account, and they know they're receiving a hefty amount of financial aid. They can supplement that and have that award letter so that shows that they've got the needed 4,500. If you have that 4,500 in your bank account, you don't need to do the financial aid letter. It's just, there's different routes to show your proof of financial means, and everybody's financial aid package looks different. So I don't know what each of your packages are. That's not my wheelhouse. But again, if you have questions, reach out to me and I can help you navigate that as to what you need for that proof of finances. It could be a combination of multiple documents. Sometimes students may not have those funds and they rely on the support of their parents or guardians. And so if that's the route, then your parents or guardians would produce, and when I say produce, they're hard copies, keep in mind, of the three most recent bank statements or the letter. In addition to that, they have to do a form what's called an affidavit of support. And that affidavit of support again has to be signed in front of a notary and a stamp placed on that. So there's, again, as I say, kind of lots of different options to provide that proof of financial means. So if you're confused or you don't understand, reach out to me and I can help kind of clear up any of those questions you might have. And as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, not only do I need the flight information early on to produce the acceptance and insurance letters, but you will, for Chicago, need to print out that flight itinerary. Again, they need to see when you're coming into the country and when you're leaving. So typically, and it's not a screenshot from your phone, you typically get an email with a confirmation number that says your name. It has all the details of your flights, like the flight number, the airline, where you're flying out of, where you're landing, things like that. So that's what you would print out and put into your stack of documents that we're talking about here. So important reminders. Another thing is that the Chicago Consulate General accepts only money orders. There's a fee for processing your student visa. And so that fee can vary, and it's on a 3-month variants. So you need to make sure that you're going on their website and looking for a tab called counselor fee, and that you are looking at that document, which unfortunately does not translate to English. So that's why we typed it out here. It's the Visto Nacionale per motivo de estudio. It's the last item on this chart or table that you'll see. And so you want to make sure that you're looking at that right before you're either going in person for your appointment or you're about to mail in. Because as I mentioned, that counselor fee can vary. So that's where you would find that, and you would then make sure that you reach out to a bank or to a post office and have a money order um, ready to be, put into your stack of documents. And so that money order has to be payable to the Consulate General of Italy dash whatever consulate is. So that'd be Consulate General of Italy dash Chicago, things like that. So that's a reminder to you that there is a fee associated with it and that that fee has to be in the form of a money order. In addition to that, as a reminder to students, if you are going to do the mail in and have that mailed back to you after your student visa has been processed, you have to provide a return envelope. The consulate does not pay for envelopes. They don't address envelopes. They don't stamp it. All that has to be done by you as the student and provided to them so that it's easy. And so that return envelope, which you would include in your stack of documents in your shipping envelope that you're sending this all out to, must be prepaid. It must be self-addressed and it must be trackable. So we encourage or recommend, along with the Chicago consulate, that you use UPS. So you can go into a UPS store and work with them, and they'll help print out a label for you. With those label sections, the to and the from must contain both your name. So it's a little confusing because it says the address as well. Keep in mind, they have to calculate the distance between the consulate's office and your home address where you're going to have it shipped back to. So make sure that you put the to is going to be your name and your home address, and the from is going to be the Chicago consulate's address. Incorporate your name into there so that they can calculate that distance. If you need help or further clarification on that, I'm happy to assist. Again, just reach out to me. Okay. And then lastly, if you are going to be doing that mail-in option, you do need to make sure that you fill out a form called consent to send by mail. Again, you're going to get all these slides in the video, and you'll see that these are all hyperlinks directly to those documents. So again, this is a really great resource that you should be going back to while you're going through this process, okay? And then in conjunction to working off of the website of the consulate that you're using. So if you don't fill out that form and include it, they won't even look at your documents. So please, please make sure that you fill that out and print it and submit it with all your other documentation. So money orders, I get a lot of questions about that. So I thought I'd just kind of briefly chat about that. A money order is guaranteed funds. It looks like a personal check. It's paper, right? But it's guaranteed funds. And so you pay that processing fee to obtain a money order. You can get one, as I mentioned, from the post office. You can get it from a bank. Make sure that you check on the consulate's website the exact amount, and you're going to fill it out and submit it with all your documentation. This is payment to the consulate for processing your student visa. You cannot alter the money order with like a whiteout or something if you make a mistake. So just make sure you're very careful as you're filling that out and read the instructions on, not all money orders look the same. So just make sure you're reading that so you know pay to. Well, that's going to be paid to the Consulate General of Italy in Chicago. Their address, make sure you put their address. In the notes, put Italian visa fee. If this is asking for your name, put your name, your address, phone number. So, be smart, look at the money order and identify what they're asking and fill it out appropriately. So, Consulate General of Italy, Chicago. I think it's really helpful. Students either neglect to look on the website at the bottom. So I thought here are some great links. Here's the address for Chicago. This is their address here. Again, this is your great resource that you can come back to and look at. These are links to a lot of the documents within the Chicago Consulate's website. This is their student visa point. So everything that we just talked about as far as documents and such, here's their visa point. So you can go here directly and look at it. This is the link to where their counselor fee is. This is their contact information. So again, use this video and these slides as resources and go back to them. Important documents. We talked about that. I talked about that template for the visa application form. So that is linked on our Go Global Rome Center brochure page. It's under the Passport and Visa tab. Here's a hyperlink to go directly to the brochure page, and then just go under that Passport and Visa tab. All the way at the bottom, you will see the link to that template. Use that template. And again, if you have questions, reach out to me. Here's the link to that blank affidavit of support. Here's the link to that consent to send by mail. And then if you have any financial aid questions, please directly direct those to lufinaid@luc.edu. Just kind of wrapping up, I am here to help you. I do this every semester with students. I seem to successfully get 200 plus students each semester. So I think I've been around the block a few times and I know. So please use me. Please set up those Zoom meetings or Navigate appointments with me. We have lots of visa drop-in sessions throughout the semester as well. And so you'll see that in in an upcoming slide here. It's also on our website. It tells you the dates and the times for that. So use the Navigate. Like I said, make those appointments and you know where to find me. I'm in the Sullivan Center in Suite 206. So you can pop in. I prefer to have an appointment, but if you have a quick question and I'm available, I'm always happy to help. And then this is the visa application workshops that I was talking about. We'll have these held throughout the semester. I encourage you to stop by. You know, we've just kind of randomly have some dates and times. You don't need an appointment, just stop by on those days during those times with any questions you may have. So there's lots of avenues for you to come speak with someone in our office to get help. And again, I encourage you with this process to do it early on versus later. You're going to get really busy come the fall. And so if you can start chipping away at some of these requirements now, I would recommend doing that. And then doing some follow-up questions with us. That's again what we're here for. So this is a great opportunity for you to ask any questions. I'm going to stop sharing.